I'm here in Exeter outside the Law Courts. Ongoing protests and counter-protests throughout 2025 have taken place, with opposing groups debating immigration policies and the use of hotels for housing. This autumn, hundreds gathered in cities like Bristol and Exeter. People are turning out in small towns. Lots of small pockets of protesters around the country, including Exeter. Some chanting negative comments. There are also counter-protests. Hi, I'm here by the edge of the city walls of Exeter, which is next to the courthouse. I'm speaking to Susie today, who is the CEO of Refugee Support Devon. What do you think about the laws that are in place surrounding refugees?
Yeah, this year has been a particular year for the asylum and refugee sector, as we have seen a big change in the laws. The government introduced the white papers at the beginning of the year. From a refugee perspective, the environment is getting more and more hostile and more authoritarian. It feels that it's going to be harder and harder for the people to work with and who comes through our doors to settle and not only to seek safety, but to settle in and to live. And one of the biggest changes is in the length of time that people will take to actually settle permanently in this country. At the moment, so if someone claims asylum and they get a positive decision, meaning that the government recognizes that they are fleeing persecution and they have the right to seek safety in this country, they get refugee status, and refugee status for 5 years. With these new changes in the law, they will only get 2.5 years. And after these 2.5 years, they will need for up to 20 or 30 years to keep renewing your refugee status.
Can you talk about the time that the refugees get for a leave to remain visa?
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, it really varies. And at the moment, with this new law in place, the time are still not very clear. What we know is since the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmoud, has announced the white papers, this has spread lots of panic and distress among our clients, asylum seekers, refugees, and migrants who are on such status. It will take much longer for someone who has claimed asylum and has got a protection to actually stay and live in this country.
How could it be made fairer for the asylum seekers to have decisions made in the future?
Yeah, this is a really, really good question. So, first of all, safe legal routes. So people shouldn't really risk your life, your family lives, little ones' lives to come and seek safety. The southwest, where we are sadly, is something that is renowned called illegal aid desert. There are very, very few legal representations available for asylum seekers. So lots of our clients go through the asylum process without really having any legal representation. Move people from being placed in contingency hotel in community-based housing. The right to work, which is really important. So making sure that asylum seekers can, from the beginning, live a fulfilled life, be able to work.
What do you think about the fact that asylum seekers can't work unless their claim has been pending for over 12 months due to no fault of their own?
It's a really, really hard situation asylum seekers find themselves in. Not being able to work, we see this every day, has a huge detrimental effect on your mental health. And I think it has a huge invisible cost on the system, on the NHS, first of all, because people get referred, re-referred in previous to therapists and psychologists because they don't know what to do, with themselves. We de-skill people. We put their lives and their skills on pause without giving them the opportunity to really fill the gaps that there are currently in our society. So, if you think about NHS staff members, if you think about carers, those are positions mostly filled in by migrants. So it has a huge cost and it is an untapped resource, in my opinion. There are great campaigns going out at the moment who have been going on for a long time, like Leave the Bank campaign, which people can sign up and to receive regular communication about that and regular updates. It's really, really important to keep pushing the government to change the law on that.
Well, thank you for speaking to me today about these issues.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Hello, today I'm talking about migration. I'm at the Hotel for Housing Migrants next to Exeter Airport. We were hoping to speak to some of the migrants that are living here at the moment. This specific hotel has been the site of ongoing protests and counter-protests throughout 2025, with opposing groups debating immigration policies and the use of hotels for housing. Some of the issues that the migrants are facing in the UK have been shown at hotels like this one. Local councillors and community reports describe the living conditions as severely inadequate, citing malnutrition, cultural insensitivity and unsafe transport arrangements for asylum seekers. Safeguarding and transport, the hotel's isolated location has resulted in critical safety failures, with children as young as 4 reportedly left to travel alone on school buses without chaperones. Speaking to Mary Wibley today, who is the founder for Bude Refugee Support Group in Cornwall. Can you talk about the support you received from the government community sponsorship at the time?
Yes, the Amber Rudd, who was in David Cameron's government in 2016, announced about the community sponsorship scheme, and we've thought that it sounded something that we could do. We didn't realise that lots of the forms were online and they really weren't fit for purpose, which consequently the government admitted. But we managed to collect the money quite easily. People were very keen to help the situation in Syria. And we collected food, furniture. We found interpreters, teachers of English as a foreign language. And we found a property, which was the most important thing. And so we were able to go ahead. And the first family arrived in 2017.
I understand you've had a negative response from the summer of 2017. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we used the local paper for promoting our group quite a bit. And one of the times in the newspaper we had said that the family will be arriving shortly. And then this letter was printed and it said, "I most certainly will not encourage these refugees. We cannot take on everybody's problems. They should not have come to the UK in the first place and should have had some consideration that we're a small island nation. Also, there's sure to be terrorists posing as refugees. The government should close our borders at once." This was pretty upsetting, obviously, but the following week in the newspaper there were 5 letters of support which really made up for it. And I had the chance to say that these refugees are coming from a refugee camp and they would be vetted health-wise and they would be sure not to be terrorists.
Is there anything regarding current issues surrounding housing for refugees that you feel is relevant or other issues surrounding this?
Yes, certainly. It's very difficult to try and find a home to rent these days, especially in an area like Bude, where there are lots of holiday lets and holiday homes. So that's been the main problem, because 2 or 3 years later, when the Afghan war was at its height, and the government was taking Afghan families to this country, we applied once more and we were given permission. We collected the money. We were ready to go with interpreters of Farsi and different languages to Syria. But the thing that held us back and stopped us from being able to sponsor a family was that we could not find a property at all. So we were able to donate our money to other groups that were able to sponsor families. And we had a lovely letter from a group in Dorset saying, "I rarely lost for words. I cannot thank you enough for this extraordinary generosity. Public transport is very poorly provided in this part of Dorset. Our family understandably feel awkward at always depending on our group to drive them everywhere. The father was able to drive and we were able to help to get him a car so that he could get to work."
Well, thank you for speaking with me today about these issues.
That's fine. I've enjoyed it.